Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Open Mid Leaguecast, episode 5. We're going to be talking about everything within the week 4 of the NA LCS and NA Academy. But first, we're going to dive into the patch 10.4 and then a little bit of news surrounding Schalke, which I think everyone has heard at this point. So 10.4 is a pretty big patch, mainly in my eyes because they're nerfing Soraka and Sona solo lanes, along with nerfing Aphelios and a couple of other changes that they did in this patch.
All I gotta say is thank God for the nerfs to Soraka, Sona, and Aphelios. Jesus Christ, are these champions really? Like, I know Sona in pro play is like kind of troll actually, but the Sona in solo queue is actually getting fucking annoying, like so annoying.
Would you like to tell some stories, sir?
Oh my God, my Sona top was going against Vlad, and obviously Vlad scales really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this Sona was solo killing the Vlad. And then she was using the move speed buff to run down to mid lane, which I play, and just fucking walking up Q autoing me for like a third of my HP, and I'm just like, I guess I can't play the game, and it's just fucking ridiculous because you can't out damage her sometimes if your team basically if your team falls behind versus like Sona or Soraka, you just want to end the game. You want to ult F4. You want to get out,
Yeah.
which is what was happening.
I think I mentioned it last episode, but my personal experience with the Sona top has been not all that good because most of the time it's on the enemy team and like I know what they're gonna do, so they just like farm up top and then they like roam around everywhere. So one time they were like came down bot, but like their bot lane made it obvious that someone was there, and also they didn't bait it hard enough because they were dodging skill shots that I was like trying to land. And if I obviously landed them, I probably would have done something, but they were not playing it correctly. So, but Sona, definitely a menace in solo queue, but Soraka is 100% annoying in the top lane, competitive in solo queue.
Yeah, it's actually like so bad to play against sometimes. I mean, we saw some teams lose with it. I don't know how. Like, you have to be really bad to lose with it, right? I mean, the TL, not TL, but the academy teams were losing with it, so I was pretty sad. I was like, damn, you guys are really sucking if you can't win with Soraka. um, but yeah, so like at least these nerfs to Soraka like are really big, honestly, right?
They're increasing mana cost and decreasing AP ratios. And
And nerfing
yeah,
base stats.
that too. The base stats. I mean, they increased their health, but everything else went down, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, mana went up, but it's just mana. But mana growth went down. And attack damage, that's not even a nerf. 0.04.
0.04. Hey man, that's one banana away from a kill.
Oh, okay, bro. 0.04, sure.
Yeah. You just need to throw out like 20 bananas though.
I guess.
20 bananas is one health, you know.
In
If
this
you
number, but now it's just flattened, so.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad like if I'm kind of glad if Soraka's like out of the meta because it's really unfun to see. And I know on 10.5 they're looking to make like top lane changes. So hopefully that could maybe fix things. You'll probably hear news on the 10.5 changes probably later this week, maybe tomorrow. I mean, we're recording on Tuesday, so maybe on Wednesday or late Tuesday is when they come out with the new PBE changes. So really glad that Sona is getting like a nerf, Soraka's getting a nerf, and then we can move on to like the Philios nerf. Like, where do you think it lands, honestly?
So just re-looking at the changes again. I think he's still gonna be like played in competitive, honestly, just because like he's like a pretty good like hyper carry AD, despite him just providing like raw damage. I think that's what you need in like season 10 right now is like just the ADC that does raw damage because like MF's meta, Varus is somewhat lingering in there and some other ADs, but I think Aphelios is probably still going to be probably not like first picked, maybe like still like first rotation somewhere in there. But these nerfs are definitely going to help him make him more balanced, but he's still going to be like definitely like a strong champion, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean the nerfs are like there's the Calibrum nerf, which kind of makes him like less skill. Like so, less skilled players will probably feel this the most because you can't double auto reset, which is really dumb that you could do that in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Where it will reset your auto twice, which is kind of gross, honestly, especially with press attack, which he takes. Um, the clarity changes, so you can see both his guns. This is probably really aimed at like a pro play where Aphelios would just you wouldn't know what gun he had secondary, and then he whips out Gravitum and throws an ult out, and and then you're like, I guess I'm fucking dead. Like you get rooted and you die.
Mm-hmm.
Also nerfing the range on R, so like that's really good actually, because I was really starting to pay attention to how far Aphelios could throw his ultimate,
Yeah,
and I
it's
was like,
like across the river.
yeah, I was like, it's like if you're standing on one end of the river, you could literally just toss it across the other end and catch someone, and that seems so, especially in one game where I saw like Aphelios throw R from like almost that blue buff into like the river, and he like one shot basically a whole team because they were grouped up and it was versus Infernum. And I was like, oh my god, it was really gross, honestly. So I'm glad they're nerfing the range, so you have to get closer. But at least like these aren't gonna kill him, but they kind of like make him more closer to MF than he was before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was already losing lanes to MF, but this kind of just makes him like less just like stupid broken, right?
Yeah.
Like just bullshit things about him.
So like for me personally, when it comes to like solo queue and stuff, I would always like ban Soraka. Probably not gonna do that once this patch hits. And once this patch also hits, I'm probably not even gonna ban Aphelios because even when he was like super duper strong, ADCs in the laning phase, you know, when they play Aphelios, they think that you know he's like super broken, but like in lane he's like pretty vulnerable. So I think with these nerfs, he's gonna be uh less like of a threat to me personally because like you know like I don't feel as pressured to do something early because like these nerfs hurt him enough where like later in the game I'm not gonna hit by a 1600 range ult and get CC'd and fucking die or some shit, you know, like
Yeah,
if it's gonna hit me it's because I actually got caught and not because this champion has a dumb amount of range sort of thing.
probably, yeah. And I mean, he was in solo queue. He's always punishable because like he has no mobility. So
Mm-hmm.
if he didn't have a support that could really support that, like Braum or Tom Kench or maybe Nautilus to help peel off people,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of like he doesn't excel super well, which is why his solo queue win rate isn't insane. In competitive, it's pretty fucking good though. Um, so that's good. I mean, the same thing why we don't see like Senna's safer, so she has her win rate in solo queue is a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
and in competitive it was really bad. But talking about ADCs, like Aphelios moving down a little bit, but they did buff Caitlyn, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually kind of a big buff because it's 100% bonus to her attack speed. I know it goes from 10 to 20. That's 100%. Like it's doubling it basically. And it basically makes her so her early trading is really really gross. Honestly, um, especially when you start building attack speed items, it's pretty gross. So like I wouldn't be surprised like if Caitlyn instead of taking Bloodline because they nerfed that this patch also, and you just take the attack speed one, and then like you're getting off two attack speeds every time your opponent gets off one. So I'm kind of glad to see Caitlyn maybe making a comeback because I prefer something like Caitlyn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, depends on the situation, I would say. But Caitlyn, you know, she's been like, I would say I've seen like a couple Caitlyns in my solo queue games, and like she does okay. It's just that you have to play around like her range sort of thing. So like if you go into like a fight and like she's like she can auto, but like it's not safe for her to auto sort of thing. And like obviously like her main thing is that she can push in early and like have early harass. So I think obviously like you said, doubling the bonus attack speed at level 1 from what it was before is obviously going to help her. But in terms of like competitive, like seeing her more often, I'm sure teams are going to try her out. But I'm not 100% sold if she's going to be like, now she's viable all of a sudden. I'm not sure just yet.
Her damage is still low compared to like Varus or MF or Philios.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the thing getting her. But I mean, Varus is a lane bully too. Like he's typically the counter you throw to Caitlyn. So I don't think we'll see Caitlyn like blind pick because Varus is always an option. But I think Caitlyn into Philios would be fine because she matches his range with Calibrum early game, and she'll be stronger early, especially like at level 1 because Aphelios' level 1 is pretty dog shit. Like he doesn't actually have an ability. You just switch guns. So that hopefully maybe it can, like, if someone first picks Aphelios, we see like a Caitlyn response, and then like you just shove in the Aphelios and it's fine, and like you just put him down. So that kind of thing is good. Last thing we wanted to touch on this patch would be the stopwatch changes to the rune. Perfect timing. Thoughts?
So I think that this is going to hurt competitive mainly. I think for solo queue, it's probably going to be like a buff sort of thing. So like they're doing what they did with magical footwear, the free boots. So pretty much if you get like a takedown, which is a kill or assist, it'll reduce it by 2 minutes. But now the cooldown, it went from 10 to 14. So that's 4 whole minutes. And if you get 2 kills or 2 assists, it'll bring it back down to 10. But I think in competitive, just because games are just naturally so much more slower and people are prone to play more safe, we're probably still going to see this keystone for like support players and stuff. But I think outside of that, it might not be taken as much, I would say. That's just my theory.
Yeah, and the same thing with magical footwear now, where like if you fall behind, it feels really bad to only get boots at 10 minutes. Like if you don't get any kills. So I think if you're holding stopwatch in your inventory for 14 minutes because you haven't got any kills, it'll feel really, really bad. So it's pretty important that you have to take the gamble on whether you're going to be able to get kills, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because like sitting on that for 14 minutes as a support player that's falling behind, the stopwatch is probably not going to be the difference maker in a team fight later on if you're like behind. So
solo queue iffy, depends on if you get ahead or not. And obviously there's the buffs to Bombi Cinder, Sunfire Cape, Cinder Hulk. Basically, you just do more damage when you CC someone. And that kind of is trying to force tank junglers back, right? Like, Sejuani's already making a comeback, but with this, it's like kind of gross, don't you think? And Ornn, too, with Sunfire Cape.
Yeah, I think the jungle pool right now is like very interesting. You know, you have like Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, J4 still in there. Some people will pick Sejuani. So I'm not sure if this Bombi Cinder change is going to like be good enough to like force, you know, like every game's just J4 Sedge or whatever, you know, Skarner
Zach.
or Zach too. But this is definitely going to be very interesting to see because like the damage itself, it says 6 to 23 plus 0.02 bonus health. So, and obviously it increases when you change it into Cinder Hulk or Sunfire Cape. So this is definitely a good Ornn item. Like Ornn was already building this item. So I know
just a buff to Ornn, what he really does.
Yeah. So I have no idea who else is gonna like build this like efficiently. Like J4 is probably still gonna build Cinder Hulk. Sejuani's probably still gonna build Cinder Hulk and stuff like that. Yeah, Poppy.
Zach.
So
like these kind of champs that have like Poppy, I mean, small tangent, but Poppy already is pretty, like, does a lot of damage. But, like, you slap a Sunfire Cape on her and you get hit into the wall, you're like, I'm actually just dead. Like,
yeah, probably just dead during that CC chain if she like alls in on you with ulti and everything like that.
Yeah, and especially if you have a dash and she catches you, oh, you're actually so sad. So, yeah. So I mean, I guess they're trying to bring back a tank meta. Would you prefer? I mean, for you as a support, it's already kind of a tank meta. But I think, and here's my thought, is that if tanks come back to top and jungle, supports will go back to being enchanters.
I mean, some people are playing Lulu with like Aphelios, which like makes sense, and I think that's like a really good combo. But I'm not sure if that's good enough to actually push enchanter supports. We'll just have to wait and see when like this actually goes through and like during the competitive scene, like if teams are just gonna play, you know, tanks in the top lane and jungle, and then we'll be playing Lulu Karma again in the bot lane. I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind that, just for like, you know, changing the game up a little bit, because it has been a tank meta for bot lane for a very long time. But you know, playing
year now, right?
Yeah, but playing for like lane dominance, I think is gonna be very interesting. And you know, like, it's not to say that Lulu Karma are like bad champions right now. It's just that it's more efficient to play these tank supports because you could ward and you don't have to like be fearful of like someone being in there and like just one-shotting you, because that will happen in the mid game if you're playing like even like Nami as well, like those like enchanter supports. But I think we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, like this will definitely happen, because it probably may not, because like I think Cinder, or like not Cinder Hulk, Gargoyles is just like too strong still, because they did not touch that item other than stopwatch. So
I mean, they haven't touched that item in a long time. Like that item has been the same, and it's only because like someone. I think it's because the ADCs that are meta, it changed. It changed
mm-hmm.
because when it was Zaya and Kaisa, right? You wanted to like buff them up, so you would build what do you call it?
Zeke's.
You'd build Zeke's and you'd build like Redemption and like Locket, right? To like buff or like the sorry, I'm blanking on the
Describe it.
Knight's Vow.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd build those two, and your AD was like godlike. Like they wouldn't die. Their autos are fucking killing it. And then as soon as you move to like Aphelios and MF and Senna, it's like, all right, I just need to be a fucking beefy boy right in front of them, because they're mobile. So I think that's where the change comes from, and maybe like and supports also shift with like the ADCs that are good, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would like to see a mage meta back, because I'm kind of tired of not being able to kill like 3 people on the map. Like if 3 people are really tanky, I only do damage to 2 people. Like, I feel really bad when that happens. I guess it feels good for you because you're not dying.
Hopefully not dying.
Yeah. So I guess that we can wrap it up on the patch there.
Mm-hmm.
The next topic would be Forgiven leaving Schalke.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just heard earlier somebody in Insight got recorded today, and I was listening to Thorn talk about it, and Thorn basically said that it's bullshit that it's a mutual parting. It's that Forgiven's getting benched, and because he's getting benched, he's quitting. So that seems, from that perspective, where do you stand on it?
Like him getting benched and then he's like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
That's definitely a quitter's mentality, I would say. Like, it sucks that you're getting benched for this other player, but like your team's not doing well anyways, so they might as well try something else here. And if you're just going to quit and bail, like that's not going to look good on you. Like it's a one-way thing. Like Schalke decided to, all right, so we're going to bench you, but it's not because you're bad, it's because it's not working, sort of thing, which he might think it's like, oh, so you think I'm bad, sort of thing. But the way I would view it, if I was to get benched, it'd be like, oh, okay, so like it's not working, like whether it be the bot lane thing or like team thing, like it's not working for us. So it's not that I should just quit right now. It's that like I should probably like try to stick around, try to prove that like I am good enough to be on this team. But I guess Forgiven was just like, fuck it, I'm out. That's just how I view it.
Yeah. I mean,
but like if he, the statement he put out that he like did on like MS Paint or whatever the fuck, Schalke is unable / unwilling to make changes to fit that goal, aka
that
winning.
was getting memed already, dude.
Yeah. So I have no idea where Forgiven stands. Like he hasn't been in the league for so long, and then when he comes back and he's like thrown into this team that's like sort of like B tier, but you're also within a region that's like you have Fnatic and G2 and now Origin like still competing
and
at the top. Yeah, now Misfits, which like that was kind of like out of nowhere, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like you kind of just have to deal with the situation as is because you haven't been playing for a while. And you can't just expect like Fnatic or G2 to like just take a chance on you when you haven't been playing in a very long time.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like teams were like really wanted Forgiven. Schalke like took the chance on him, and like honestly, he should probably be. It's kind of weird to say, but he should probably be grateful he got a shot. From after not playing for a long time, and it's not like he looked bad. It's like he just had the same problems. He didn't play the meta ADCs, like he didn't play Philius and Senna. He played one game with Senna. He didn't play the meta ADCs, and he didn't look incredible. He looked pretty average. He probably didn't look like the worst AD carry, but obviously something team wise, something comm wise wasn't working, and they just they decided like, oh, friggin', we're gonna bench you, and try something else. And then he's like, you can't bench me. I'm forgiven. And then he's like, I'm out. So
Yeah.
kind of sucks. I actually like Forgiven as a personality because he kind of like fits the whole. At the time in 2016, he was like the fucking guy. Like he was the one like challenging to be like one of the best in the world. And obviously, people have just caught up. 4 years later, people have caught up. So
Hmm.
it sucks that he left when he did. I felt like he could have had a really good career, but he also could have had a good comeback if he had stuck it out, and then maybe next year, he shows he's good. This year, like he still got it, and then someone whose 80 carries underperforming, like all right, forgiven, come in, right? Like
Yeah.
so,
It's
sucks to
sort
see
of
him
like
go.
so we were saying it's definitely an ego problem, which I would somewhat disagree or somewhat agree with, I would say, because I do think Forgiven does think of himself in like a very high,
He's got
way.
ego, bro.
Yeah, probably an ego thing. But like I don't know what's gonna happen now. Like if he's gonna try to look for a spot in summer or whatever. But like it just seems like, or look in NA or some shit.
I mean, it seems like he's kind of done to me. Like
Yeah,
I
I have
don't
no
think
idea what's gonna happen though.
I don't think European teams are gonna give him a chance. And like the ERL teams, like the regional teams, aren't gonna give him a chance either because they usually bring up rookies. They don't typically have that many veterans.
Hmm.
And in NA, like, I mean, maybe an NA team, like, and the thing is, like, NA doesn't have a lack for 80 carries, right? Like,
Yeah, because
we have
NA.
good resident 80. We have mostly solid resident 80 carries,
Hmm.
especially with Johnson coming in, and Sneaky's not even playing. Like, so for him to import, you have to look at like a team like Golden Guardians, who already uses both their import slots. So
Yeah.
it's kind of iffy like that. So his looks kind of bleak
Yeah, especially
from
since
now.
Schalke did beat G2
Yeah,
this
I
past
mean
week.
that's a
So
whole different thing though.
yeah, yeah,
G2 looked like they were fucking trolling. Like I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
And they made it fucking hard for Schalke to win. Like it was fucking rough for them to win. Not to tangent too much on EU, but yeah, it was an interesting game to watch because it was so G2. It was literally like them trying to fucking backdoor 3 inhibitors and an Nexus. I was just like, Jesus Christ, when is this game gonna end? Like they should have lost 20 minutes ago. But yeah, that's basically the whole thing. Like it sucks to see him go, but if he has too much ego to play on a team that gave him to finish a split on a team that like gave him a chance, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. At this point, he's his own enemy. Like it's his problem.
Yeah, it's his problem. So sucks. Moving on from EU and Forgiven. Uh, some important things happened in Academy this week. I would like to say. Some teams bounced back, like Golden Guardians Academy and Cloud9 Academy, and Team Liquid Academy. And then other teams, I mean, Academy got their first loss,
Yep. That happened.
which, yeah, and we probably I personally thought they wouldn't go 18-0 with the way they were drafting.
Yeah. They were definitely gonna get
Um,
a loss somewhere.
somewhere it was only a matter of time to who. And then some teams played really bad. CLG
Oh, not
again,
like this.
not like this. They finally had their full roster this week, but they looked bad, dude. Like
I think they're just making too many individual mistakes, and then their team play's just not there either.
yeah, and we could talk about one of the TL games, which is what I wanted to touch on. But before we can start on the dig games, the two dig games. And what's interesting about the dig games to me is that they drafted sort of the same way. I mean, I know there was the big difference in the second dig game, and some people will say they lost the second game because of draft. But the first game looked like something they should have lost because 100 Thieves A was making a comeback. So Dig A drafted. I'll just start with the beginning. Dig A drafted an early game comp that requires you to execute early game to be able to win and close out. You have to get a lead. You have to force team fights, and you have to like end the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem arose where they get an early game lead because 100 Thieves is like kind of, I don't know. To
Running
me, it seems,
it.
yeah, they're running it. Basically, they're kind of like handshaking fights when they weaker, not handshaking, but it's not even like Dig A is forcing that hard on these fights, but they just respond and they lose. And it's kind of like the idea where like you shouldn't contest these first two Drakes. You should give them over and then maybe even give the third Drake and fight at the fourth Drake. Because at that fourth Drake, you might have outscaled their team comp. Because they had Rek'Sai, Rumble, Aatrox, and a couple other things that are escaping me right now. But essentially, you just don't want to fight them early because if you fight them early, you might get steamrolled.
Yeah, I
And
think 100 Thieves definitely had the late game potential with the Ornn bottom and the Azir. So
yeah, and they had the Azir with the Ornn item already. I think if they had just given it more time, they could have done something. I mean, Breezy was really running it. He was like 0-6, I think, at the end of the game, or 0-7.
yeah,
So,
I
you
mean,
know,
it's just the it's just the nature of center support in my opinion, because like you're trying to like get words out, and like the way you die in team fights is if like anyone gets on you, you're just dead. So
yeah,
it's like super hard to play center support, especially into Dig's team comp with Aatrox and Rek'Sai, along with a Rumble that's just gonna equalize on top of you. So, not to say that he played perfectly, but it's not entirely his fault. It's just how the champion works, I would say.
yeah. So obviously in this first game, they draft only early game, and then, or basically only early game. But they end up winning because they got far enough a lead. 100 Thieves misplayed a couple fights, and they lose. And then the next game they played versus Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians draft a late game scaling comp with Orange Jarvan. They also draft Yumi, and they draft Aphelios Cassiopeia. So this comp is hard late game, hard scaling, doesn't really do much early game. Um, and essentially they did what every team should have done to Dig Academy when they draft like this. And I'm guessing like the coaching staff must have noticed, or somebody must have finally noticed that Dig Academy is super disrespectful, drafting mostly early game, mid game champions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they punish. Dig Academy is unable to get a lead because Golden Guardians Academy doesn't give them that many opportunities to like get kills. Like it was a really low kill game, and then by the time where like they should have already been winning the game is when Golden Guardians Academy was coming online, and they had the scaling, and they just got shit on. Like they didn't have a lead, so their comp didn't work, and I think it's good for them to get punished, right? I didn't want to see this team go 18-0 playing only early game comps because then basically it means none of the academy teams are mechanically good enough to match them, which is not a good sign.
Yeah, I just think you know, finally Dig was just like, all right, guys, we're gonna try this out on stage. Senna Galio, and I was like, okay, let's see how this works. And then every single fight that Dig Academy took were just not in their favor whatsoever because their comp was just not all that strong.
Yeah.
And like when you see the Yumi into like a Braum or something, which happened a lot during the LCS, when you see a Yumi into Galio, it's really hard for Galio to punish the Yumi because Galio only has one really good form of CC to punish the Yumi, and like the Yumi only gets caught if they're trolling. So,
Basically.
like you said, Dig just had, or GGS had the better late game comp, so they just picked fights that were 100% or like pretty much like 60% in their favor, and then when they executed right on them, they won the fight. So yeah, Dig finally losing a game because of their disrespectful way of drafting. Just putting Demonte on Rumble a lot of the games is just not good.
I mean, and it's kind of like the whole meta thing where it's like, should you play early game or should you play scaling? And I think in Dig Academy's case, when you're that much better than a lot of your opponents, you can play the early game and stomp in under 30 minutes. But when a team who is like as skilled as you, doesn't like fall into the trap of playing into your hand, you're not able to win with this kind of team comp. And I'm kind of proud of Golden Guardians for like just being like, all right, guys, we scale, just chill, fucking don't do anything for 25 minutes, and we'll win at 25. Like we'll be stronger at that point if they don't have a lead. So kind of glad for that. The last game I really really wanted to talk about would be the TL versus CLG game, TLA versus CLGA, where and we're going to tie this into one of the matches that happened in LCS. But essentially, Cloud9, CLG Academy get a massive lead. You remember this game, right? Travis?
Oh, my bad. I was muted. Haha.
Oh, what the hell?
But yeah. It was the last game for CLG and TLA.
Yeah. So
for Monday Night League or whatever.
Monday Night League, yeah, for Academy. And CLG have this pretty decent team comp. They drafted Rumble also. But basically their comp, they were unable to close the game out due to a Zoe, which was played pretty well by Yusui. And the problem with, I think, teams in Academy, especially versus like a champion like Zoe, is the fact that Zoe can stall a game out for so long if you let her, right? So if you don't punish the Zoe when she pokes like from defense, you just get chunked, and then you can't, and if you don't force, you're going to like keep getting chunked, and then you're unable to close the game out. And this really showed with the CLG game where they had multiple Barons, they had a massive gold lead, and they just kept getting stalled out by the Zoe and unable to break the inhibs. And there's more problems than just that. Like, they played pretty poorly in some of the fights. But generally, just the Zoe pick in Academy wins a lot. Because teams can't, close on her when they have the advantage.
Yeah. So, like, my thing with Academy is that, like, you're in Academy, right? You're trying to, like, prove yourself. I don't know why some players are just, like, hesitant onto, like, making plays. Like, obviously, it's going to look super duper bad if you go for something that looks troll as shit. But, like, you might as well just go for it and then see what happens. Like, if you think it's a good play. Like, obviously not YOLOing everything, but just, like, going for a play that you think will work is better than just sitting around and just dying. Especially to Zoe, because Zoe poke gets more annoying as the game goes on. So,
yeah, and this week, you want to know what her record was?
just say it. I don't want to guess.
5-0. She went 5-0. Every team that picked Zoe won.
In Academy, right?
In Academy, yeah.
Okay.
She went
Makes
5-0.
sense.
Obviously not in LCS. And I think that's where the difference is between Zoe in Academy and Zoe in LCS. We saw Zoe from 100 Thieves, Ryoma played it, versus FlyQuest on Monday Night League. And boy, did they get shit on. Holy moly. It's not entirely the Zoe's fault, right? But the Zoe falls behind in CS to Syndra. And the main difference I want to put between Academy and LCS is that FlyQuest Academy, when they watch Ryoma go in to try and like poke them out so that they will stop sieging, they're just like, oh, hey, what's up, Zoe? I know where you're going back. Here's this fucking Syndra ulti to the face. and then she's like forced to flash or forced to heal, and then you're able to like push the tower down and this kind of thing. And I think that's like where the big difference is between LCS teams and Academy teams is they'll punish the Zoe trying to like stall the game out for fucking ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna say the early game from Academy teams is bad. Some of them are good at it, and some of them kind of stomp. But in LCS, at least, it doesn't seem like you should play early game. What's your thought on that?
So, I think the meta right now is that you pick champions that are good enough to skirmish early, but aren't dog shit. Like, so the example I want to say is like Ezreal. So like Ezreal's like really bad at skirmishing early, but if you get him to like 2 to 3 items, he's a monster, right?
Yeah.
So when people pick Aphelios, like Aphelios is skirmishing early, it's all right. It's not like Ezreal level, I would say, but it's like good enough where like you could probably get some kills off of it. And then Aphelios' late game is like pretty strong, similar to Ezreal. Obviously not as long because like Ezreal just like throws Qs and like jumps around everywhere. But you just don't want to fully commit to the late game, but you want to pick champions that are good enough early as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I think the whole early game versus late game debate kind of got shown a lot in some of the matches in LCS.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we talk about where it can go wrong. So the first game that happened this weekend was the TL IMT game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where TL draft Lee Sin versus Sejuani, and essentially Broxah makes a bad play in the river level 3. It's a play that TL does pretty often where they'll invade on bot side when they have bot prio. But what happens instead is Xmithy's there on the Grom.
Hakuho
Broxah
warded.
knows. Yeah, it's warded. And Broxah knows, and literally Hakuho and Xmithy just jump on him and he dies. He's playing Lee Sin. As soon as Lee Sin dies to a Sejuani early game, it's over. You don't do anything else. You're never going to kill the Sejuani. You're basically a kick bot at level 6. And you try and make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously TL just like lose the game, basically.
Yeah,
They
because
just,
like, so the Kalista Taric draft was definitely very interesting in my opinion, just because like Kalista is interesting because like she has obviously like prio on like objectives because of the Ren, but like if you don't get her to the objectives, she's kind of like, eh. Like she doesn't do like as much damage, especially as the game keeps going on. Like if she tries to auto like a Cassiopeia late game, she's gonna die. So that was definitely a very interesting draft point. And then the Ateric to pair it up with the Kalista. It makes sense, you know, they were talking about it a lot on the cast where it's like they make each other invulnerable, but like if they don't do it right, which happened a lot during the game, like if Double gets caught out or like they used one of the ultis before the fight starts, it's obviously not going to look good. So I don't know. I think that was definitely a very interesting draft choice, but I know that they're still trying out the Kalista and like solo queue and stuff.
yeah, I like the Taric because I mean it seems like a lot of like lanes aren't super aggressive, right? So I think Taric is a good response for that because it's only like Leota and Nautilus that you're like super afraid of, but if you get Taric into Braum or Tom Kench, you're like free lane. Taric gets a scale. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think the Taric isn't that bad of an option. They did look out of sync with it though. Their team fighting almost brought them back in the game at some points. Like, it was pretty close in some fights. The Rise and the Kalista were almost popping off, but like the Taric ulti wouldn't come down in time, or someone would get caught out and just die really instantly. So these kind of things really affect how certain champions can look. And I think they moved away from the Taric in the next game. I mean, by the way, props to IMT and Xmithy for really showing Team Liquid who's the better jungler, right? um, so IMT get this win, pretty good for them. For the next TL game, they really shit on CLG. Jesus Christ.
I mean, CLG just
Holy
CLG
fuck.
just not a good team.
They were one win apart before this game. So Team Liquid only had 2 wins, and CLG had 1. And boy, did Team Liquid just run them over. It was really bad. It was really lane difference.
Yeah, because there were definitely some individual mistakes. Like when Smoothie died in lane to the Varus ulti, I was like, I guess that's one way to die. Going for a fucking Targon stack, like that's just really troll. You know, just like disrespecting the level 6 all in from Double Lift was definitely really, really bad. But you know, the rest of the game they were kind of just like hanging around, not doing much with the Yasuo Gragas, and when they did, you know, Crown just died instantly, and I was like, all right, you know, TL's just playing their game.
Yeah, I mean Jensen's Vladimir could have looked a little bit better. I think he had some chances to like kind of just kill people, and he didn't really go for it. But I think individually they played better. Broxa is on Sejuani duty. Maybe that's good while he's jet lagged, right? And
Yeah,
like
man,
kind of
easier champ.
yeah, easier champ, and he's coming into the team like that. Mordekaiser, so Impact looked pretty good on the Mordekaiser. Ruin getting solo killed, adding a name to the list of top laners he's got solo killed by. It's like it
Hmm.
must be like a thing for him. He must be like, oh man, look at all these good top laners. I want to get solo killed by them. Hey, can you sign my book, Impact? Can you sign my
What
book
the hell?
Sunday? Can you sign my book, Licorice? Like, like he's just getting solo killed by fucking everybody. I'm just like, this is so sad. Why are you dying 1v? Like, I don't expect 1v1 deaths to happen that often in the LCS, but Jesus, has it happened a lot to CLG, right? When you
Yeah.
see LCS deaths, you're like, there was a gank, there was a numbers advantage, blah blah blah. You don't see people getting outplayed this hard, right?
It's just a bunch of individual mistakes, like I said. Like CLG is definitely like they're not playing good individually, and then they're just not playing good together, and that definitely showed when they're trying to do a Yasuo comp. So
Yeah,
that's all I
real
can really
sad.
say.
Yeah. Obviously COG lost both their games. Damn, it's kind of
Unfortunately,
sad to say. Obviously, um,
unfortunately, yeah, they lost
unfortunately, yeah,
both
they
of their
lost both their
games. Their other
games.
game was against Golden Guardians, which Golden Guardians just hard smurfed on them, I would say.
Yeah, it doesn't look super close, honestly, for a lot of the games, which is kind of depressing when you think about how many wins they could potentially get this season, and it's looking pretty rough. Who did they actually beat? EG, right? They actually beat EG.
What CLG?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
possibly.
they beat CLG. I mean, they beat EG in week 3. God, that must fucking suck beating EG. You
I
lost to
mean,
the only team.
EG this week also beat IMT. So I don't know where the hell EG stand as a team, cause like they're losing to these other teams, like EG lost to C9 obviously, and C9 is just smurfing, but they beat IMT, who's like second in the league. So like I'm still not sure if IMT's like still stealing these wins or like they're actually good or what, but it just seems like really weird that like IMT is just like winning these games and then they're also losing these other games that they should be winning.
I think it's honestly, I think that the wins that IMT's record looks better than they are. I think because
Yeah.
we still look back on the 2 wins that they got. The one win versus CLG, which boneheaded move versus CLG, they lost that game,
Hmm.
which looks bad on IMT, right? You're about to lose to the last place team in the league, and then the TSM game, which they obviously only won because TSM couldn't close out, and they weren't very practiced in the first week. So if you kind of like even if you take one of those wins away, right? They're 5 and, I mean they're 4-4. They're with every other team. I think
No, 5-3.
no. I mean if like you said like oh, the CLG game they definitely should have lost. That puts their record 4-4.
I
If they
guess.
definitely should have lost the TSM game, then they're 3-5, right? And you think like oh whatever. I mean they had some wins that they definitely deserved, like this game, the 100 Thieves game. I can't take those away from them. They played well in those. But the ones where they win, where it looks like they shouldn't, just makes you think like they're not a good team, right? Like at least
Hmm.
that's what it puts in my head. And getting stomped by EG this hard is kind of like telling, I think. Maybe EG looks better than is better than their record shows. Hard to say. Um
Yeah. I think a good part of like what was happening in the IMT game was just like lane dominance from like all of the lanes. Like EG's bot lane was Lucian Yumi into Ezreal Braum. Fucking Ezreal Braum's not gonna do anything to Lucian Yumi. Like 100%, they're just gonna sit under
True.
their tower and just do nothing. So like Xmithy couldn't really do much, and like Jizuke was winning against Aika, but you know he like obviously
He
made,
did get 2 kills.
yeah, he did make some mistakes though, where like he dove and then Xmithy was there. And then you know Kumo on Renekton versus Orn's or so as is Orn. You know it's just farm lane for the most part.
EG almost threw this game.
They did.
Do you remember? Yeah, because you remember Bang got caught out, then IMT walk in, and then they just get annihilated in a 4v5, and it's just
Yeah.
like Jesus Christ, like IMT was so far ahead that they won on the 4v5, which is really telling. Like if they had just played a little bit more evenly, then they catch out Bang and they don't get that 4v5, right? So I mean things played out differently in certain scenarios.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it was mainly because in that fight, Altai didn't have flash, and then he E'd forward, and then Kumo saw that, and he just killed him.
yeah,
And
yeah,
since they already
I
have the
remember now.
Soul Drake, it was kind of just like, oh, okay, I guess we just run them over, which is what happened.
Yes, I remember now. That's what
They just kept
happened.
running them down with Yumi, which is another thing I want to talk about, is picking Yumi in LCS or like in competitive in general. So like my experience in solo queue is every single time I see a fucking Yumi, I'm like, all right, just give me Thresh or Leona. If Leona's banned, just give me Thresh. So I could actually play aggressive and catch the Yumi out. Because if you CC her, she can't jump back. So, and since you don't take flash on Yumi, the moment you catch her out, she should be dead if your team's with you. So, whenever teams pick Braum blindly, which clearly showed in the TSM versus FlyQuest game, where they picked Aphelios Braum, and then they countered with Yumi and
Misfortune.
Yumi and MF. So like Braum can't do much to Yumi, and Yumi just gets to poke and just play the game, and Braum just gets to sit there and cry and just not do anything because it's fucking Braum. Like you can't really do much in lane against a Yumi.
Yeah. And you bring up the TSM Flacco's game, which I want to talk about. Again, with the topic of early game versus late game that we've been having, TSM drafted an early game comp with, well, I wouldn't say early game.
Early to mid game,
Actually,
I would say.
early mid game. Some of their picks are definitely looking towards late game, right? With the Aatrox, Braum, and
Aphelios.
Aphelios. But their mid jungle duo is completely early mid game. Like, you stomp in 25 minutes or you're gonna lose. It's Pantheon Talia, and essentially they get a massive lead, right? It's like 10k at some point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and where they really fumbled is there was one play in bot lane where they really needed to continue the snowball and break an inhibitor so that they can force other objectives and be able to close the game out. But they have people misplay. They don't have certain cooldowns up, and they're unable to win the fight convincingly. It's a pretty even fight, is what I'll say. But they're unable to like completely break the game open. And once you take a fight like that, you most of the time just farm up, wait on cooldowns to come back up. By the time their cooldowns came back up, they had gotten outscaled. Like it's Syndra Misfortune, Ornn, Yumi. Like these champions just make your life hell. You can't engage onto the Yumi because you just press R. And Syndra was one shotting Kabe this like basically the whole game.
Yeah. Um, the team comp TSM made, like you said, was early mid game focused. And then the moment they made one mistake, which was like they used the Pantheon ult like really poorly. Once that happened, it was kind of just like, all right, TSM could or FlyQuest could win a full on 5v5 like head on, which obviously showed because like they have Ornn, Yumi, uh, MF, Lee Sin, Syndra, compared to Pantheon, Talia like running in head first. It's not gonna be as effective as the other champs. So I think if TSM executed better and like perfectly, pretty much, like they 100% would have won the game. But because they made those mistakes and because they misplayed in certain areas, they were unable to win this one.
Do you prefer seeing them play an early game comp versus if they had just played something scaling and won that way?
Uh, I mean, obviously, like they're trying to like flex like the whole like Pantheon Talia to like make them guess like who's going mid, who's going jungle, because like they could be flexed in both roles, obviously. But it just I would obviously much rather see them win, but with the way that they were playing it, like it was obviously like good attempts to like keep pushing their lead, like start a fight with Pantheon, flank the Syndra, kill the Syndra instantly, this and that. but because of how the game went, obviously to like super late game, it just didn't pan out for them. So maybe they should have had like maybe Rakan or something else instead of Braum, because like I said, the Braum Yumi matchup, Braum's just gonna sit around and do jack shit. But if they have like a Rakan to help them in the back line and like CC whoever, make sure that the kills are secured, this and that, that might have been a little better. I'm not entirely sure.
They,
But
I think you might be right that they needed like one more form of engage in this
yeah,
game.
because like Talia engaged, like Talia's not gonna ride the whole wall,
Yeah, I mean
and
their only engage is Pantheon ult with Aatrox flank.
yeah, Aatrox running it. So like, I think if they had Rakan instead of the Braum, it probably would have been a lot better. But because they were like, Braum Aphelios is fucking broken, which it is in team fights. Um, it was just a matter of Yumi just pressing heals on everyone because the heals are actually crazy. On this 10.3 Yumi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they got Mountain Soul too, so like their initiations were actually doing 0 damage. So
Yeah, I mean, also like Nautilus and Leona were open when we talk about this. So
yeah,
I
I
think
guess they
if they
were
had one of
just
those
like,
champions,
yeah, definitely. Like if they were just like, instead of like playing safe with the Braum, they just went for, going in
like
and
committed,
actually,
right?
yeah,
Like
because like
committed to the early game.
there is a such thing as like too much initiation, but I think in this case they needed more because I guess they thought Aatrox Pantheon would have been enough to initiate, but it's not.
Yeah, I really think if they draft like Leona or Nautilus here, they are able to force engages easier because it looked like it was they had to wall someone off and then Pantheon ult in at the same time that Aatrox flank is going on, and it worked like a couple times when basically the FlyQuest carries didn't have flash. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
But when they did have flash and it got to the point where like flash is up and you don't do enough damage to one shot them through the flash, the game's over.
Yeah.
For you guys. So they put themselves on the clock. They weren't able to close it out. I'm still happy to see them play early game. Honestly, at least it's better than watching them like play for late, fall behind, and slowly die. Right,
Yeah,
like
which
in
is what
previous
100 Thieves is
iterations.
trying to do.
Yeah, which is what 100 Thieves is doing. Are you still on the 100 Thieves train? I'm
Look,
not
bro,
on
I'm
the
always I'm
train.
always on the 100 Thieves
Oh
train.
my
Run it up,
god,
run
you're
it up, run it
trolling.
up.
You're
But
trolling.
they're definitely trolling. Like 100% the FlyQuest game in on a Monday Night League. I watched most of it, but I felt like I needed to just watch half of that game because they were doing jack shit. They weren't doing anything at all with the tools that they had. They were doing nothing and just letting FlyQuest do what they want. Like they obviously made that play onto Ignar, but he had stopwatch, which like was a good attempt. But I feel like if you're gonna go for a play like that, you need like other team members like looking at you and like thinking about that ahead of time. Cause like sitting in a bush as Rakan and just waiting for someone to walk up is not like a revolutionary idea. Like people have been doing this for a while, and like if they had other people there, the stopwatch would have been punished. They probably would have blew a flash or something like that. But because 100 Thieves had like no pressure bot, I believe what happens after that play is that they just lose the bot tower outright, which is like, why is that happening? Because like Meteos is like 3 steps behind on the play, and like other team members are coming down after it happens, but like once they went in and did all that stuff and blew Ignar's stopwatch, it was kind of over for that play anyways.
Yeah, Meteos has not looked like himself, I'll say, this split. Um, he looks a lot worse than he did last year. And I think this is kind of a problem that's come up for a couple teams now that their like rosters are done being made. Is last year Meteos looked pretty good on Optic, and now he doesn't. And Smoothie looked okay on TSM, and Ruin looked good on CLG, and Crown looked good on Optic. Like I'm listening to CLG players, but essentially like they looked good last year, and now they look awful. Like something happened between in the summer and now that these players look really bad, and it seems like, and it also shows with like Zazos and Svenskeren, where they also don't look as good as people like. When you buy these players, you're like they're gonna play to this level, and it doesn't look the same, right?
Yeah, definitely. EG looking at that check that they cut for C9, it was like, oof.
Oof. They're really looking like an oof. I mean, Bang isn't playing incredible either. Like he almost threw the IMT game by getting caught out, but
I
I
mean,
think
yeah, he
Jizuka
probably should have
looks like
like blew flash or something, but I guess he was
yeah.
like, they're not gonna go in on this, and then Hakuho like blew everything on him, and he was like, oh
Yeah, he just
shit.
died. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Jizuka still looks good though.
he, Bang was probably thinking hindsight's 50-50 if I die here, and then he died, and he was like, oh shit, wait,
Oh my god.
maybe I should have
Yeah.
done something, but
Yeah.
it is what it
Um,
is.
we have seen the rise of Golden Guardians.
Okay, so Golden
Raise
Guardians are actually playing pretty well.
raise your dongers for Keith McBrief. I am a Keith McBee fanboy.
Oh, Keith McGrief, that's crazy.
Ooh, no, don't play him.
I'm
Don't play
trolling,
him.
I'm trolling. But
Uh,
so when it comes to the dig game in particular, I want to touch on this because the support matchup. So they give Keith Thresh, right? And then Afromu's like, yo, I can fucking shit on him with Leona. Despite this being a counter matchup, I can fucking shit on him. That obviously didn't happen because he went 0-3 by the 25-minute mark.
oof.
But the way Afromu was playing the matchup was definitely very interesting. He was just like, all right, I'm going to fucking blow flash and everything on you, and hopefully we kill you. And that didn't happen at all. So
He
I
was
think
paired with Aphelios, right? No, he had MF.
Yeah. So Afro or Leona with MF obviously can kill. Like, that's a pretty good battling combo. But when you have a Thresh on the other side, it's super hard to get engages off pre-6. So what Afromu tried to do is that after 6, he would just blow flash and blow everything onto fucking Keith because he doesn't have cleanse. But that didn't happen because he had stopwatch and he's tanky and this and that. So, like, the Leona pick kind of just doesn't work despite them picking it later. I guess Afromu had like some sort of like confidence or something like that to like actually play this well enough. But Keith's on his comfort champion, so I don't know exactly what was going through his mind. But yeah, that's just something that I found very interesting was that they last picked the Leona, and then it was like, oh shit, like this matchup is actually like trash, sort of thing, because it is.
I mean, my whole thing was, I think Closer. I think we can't deny Closer has looked really, really good this split, right?
Of course, he's
And
smurfing.
yeah, but Keith on Thresh looked really good. I actually liked the play that they made early. Leona burns flash early for like an engage, right, in the lane phase, and they pretty much punish like really quickly, like within a minute or within 2 minutes they punish. They come around the corner for the gank, and they know 100 Thieves knows they have it warded, and they
Dig.
still walk up, and Afromu gets hooked, and I'm just like, oh.
Talking about dig, bro.
I'm sorry, what?
You said 100 Thieves and Afromu.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so used to that.
It's all good,
My
bro.
bad.
It's all good.
He's running it on one team. He's running it on another team. The same old, same old. But yeah, basically, Dig sees Closer in the tri-bush. They worded it like 10 seconds earlier. They see him, but they're still like kind of like playing around with the fact like, oh, maybe if we play kind of like aggressive, not aggressive, but like if we play still up, they're baiting him into wasting time, right? But then Afro gets caught by a hook. And
Yeah, he just gets hooked in lane, and I was like, wait a minute.
And Keith plays it well, though, because he tosses the lantern, so Jarvan doesn't have to use EQ to engage. He tosses lantern, brings him close. He autos, and then he lands like a point-blank EQ that you can't miss, and they get a kill. And basically, from that point on, like, Golden Guardians has the reins. I'll touch on the fact that, boy, did that Diana do nothing. Like,
The second time Golden Glue picks Diana, he's like, shout out to my boy Scar.
I think he's the only one who's played it.
Yeah.
Actually, Power of Evil played it one game. Boy,
I don't
dude,
even
like,
remember, but I think
yeah.
Diana's just not that great.
She's not that good. Like, her win rate in solo queue is high for some reason.
It's because skirmishes happen, and people forget that her dash is now her E.
Yeah, but she looks bad in competitive, at least. It looks like she doesn't do anything. Maybe she just has to hit like 6 items or some shit for me to see something, but like these games are ending too fast. Golden Glue really had like no impact on this game. It was mostly like bot diff and top diff, like
Bot
Hunter,
diff, jungle diff.
jungle diff. Yeah, basically. Also, Dig's draft was really in. I don't know if you saw this clip, but I Will Dominate was messaging Johnson after the game, and the first thing Johnson said, all caps, draft diff. I was like, ooh, flame. He's really flaming the coaching staff right here. He said draft diff is the reason we lost. I was like, oof. Because they first pick Elise and they give up a Philios Ornn. Like,
I mean, yeah, if they... Holy shit. Like, oh my god. No one first picks Elise, bro. No one does that.
I've ever seen anyone first pick Elise. Like, people
I wonder,
ban it.
I wonder if during the game... No, during the draft, Johnson just in his head, he was like, what the fuck did we just do?
And they've done that before. They're one of the only teams to do that. Like, they first picked Elise on blue side this game, and they lost. But last week, they first picked Elise on red side, and they also lost. So I'm just like, where? Like, are you not understanding?
They're trying to give Greg his one trick. That's what's going on.
Yeah, basically. And he looks like dog shit on it, too. Wow. You know what? Nah, he actually looks really bad on it. He didn't do anything. Elise is an early game champ, and you don't do anything. Right?
I mean, yeah. When the meta is, you pick a Philios, and then they have to pick a tier below for an ADC, it's kind of just like, why don't you just fucking first pick the Aphelios? That's why you pick blue side, right? To like get a really strong first pick, and then you first pick Elise, and like it's easy to play around the Elise sort of thing.
And they have Johnson. Johnson's a great fucking Aphelios player.
Yeah.
God. My God. And also this week Aphelios, how many Baron rushes did we see at 20 minutes with Aphelios with Chakra?
Bro, the champion's just so dumb. Like any ADC that can rush Baron at the 20-minute mark when they get like 2 items or whatever is just broken. So like when Kai'Sa
have to have 2 items, he's literally just one-shotting it. Basically.
Bro, just these fucking ADs, man. Fucking when Kai'Sa came out and then, all right guys, I got Gwynsu's, just go to Baron. I'm like, all right, say no more. Like,
say no more. Yeah.
They're probably not going to expect it, and by the time they do check, it's probably gone, because that's just how the newer ADCs work, other than Senna. But
it happened like 2 times. It happened like 3 times in Academy. It happened in the G2 game where they fucking solo Baron at 20 minutes with fucking 2 champions, and then it happens. I mean, also the Golden Guardians game where FBI was playing. It was this game actually. He was playing Aphelios, and then you just see him like one-shot 3 people. Like, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, Dig almost won this game. Like, Dig was making a comeback in this game with Greg running it down on Elise. And then FBI's like, open up. And he throws the ulti, and he throws the Q, and he autos, and he switches guns to Gravitum and presses Q. And 3 people just die, and they get the soul. And I'm just like, Aphelios, man, you got season 10 champ. Like, it happens, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Just the draft was definitely very questionable from Dig, but yeah, Golden Guardians are definitely turning it up.
The players on Dig are saying draft diff. Yikes.
Yeah.
For some people, I bet there was a long discussion like, hey man, Greg, you're playing fucking Sejuani next patch, like,
bro, next week you better get that set job, cause
that's what we're picking for you. Like, that's it. So. Sucks for Dig. I mean, they did win versus 100 Thieves, but also 100 Thieves just they had Soraka also. They had Soraka top with Huni.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of
okay. That game, holy shit! Dig versus 100 Thieves. That game was actually so dumb because 100 Thieves were winning, and then Dig hit a point where it was like, all right, guys, Olaf and MF, they can just run it down and they won't die. Which is exactly what happened, because they have fucking Soraka and Ornn. And I'm like, Soraka, Ornn, Leona. Who can stop them? Oh, 100 Thieves picked Nautilus? Oh, okay, I guess no one can stop them. Because, like, all right, so 100 Thieves draft. They pick Aphelios first. All right, not bad. Then it gets countered with Soraka, Olaf. And I'm like, okay. So at a certain point, Olaf's just going to keep running it down. And then no one can really stop the Olaf. And then they pick Nautilus set, okay? That's fine. Then Dig, last pick MF. Okay. So here, guys, you ban Leona. When you have Nautilus, you ban fucking Leona. Because
I don't understand the Braum ban, though. Like,
Yeah. So
I
like Braum, fuck Braum. Like why would you ban Braum? Because I think FlyQuest showed this off against CLG, where like Smoothie was on Nautilus, and then Ignar had Leona. And guess what Leona did? Just fucking kept going in, and Nautilus had no agency when Leona goes in. Because that's just how the fucking matchup works. But I guess they didn't know that.
I don't know, dude. Like it's so fucking troll, man.
Like
Like the drafting's so
it's
dog
so
shit.
obvious. It should be obvious for these players, right? Like,
Yeah,
all right, when you have Nautilus, the worst matchup for Nautilus is fucking Leona because Leona can go in and Nautilus can't do anything.
yeah, and God, like I see like where like, but the problem is the enemy team has MF already, right? And then you
Mhm.
ban Braum. Are you scared of a Braum MF lane? Like,
Hell no. You're not scared of that
right?
lane. You're fucking scared of MF Leona. Like that's even more scary,
Yeah, that's
honestly.
even worse. So I'm like, where was this idea coming from? But then the cherry on top. Apparently, the 100 Thieves can't play set jungle because Jesus fuck, they draft they Ornn gets last picked in this game, bro.
Mhm.
Ornn, where in the other two region, LEC and Korea, is getting first picked, he gets 10th picked. 10th picked. It's like you got the free fucking win. Like, Jesus. They draft Rise Lee Sin. I'm like, bro, 100 Thieves, you're really running it right here. Like,
Yeah, I think it's mainly because the champ pool size for the jungle and mid, Meteos and Ryoma aren't that big. So like they have to play around that, which sucks 100% of the time when you're playing in competitive, any kind of like competitive environment. When you have to play around someone's limited champ pool, that's just not fun.
yeah, it really, really sucks. And we're seeing it with both Dig, with a lot of teams, actually. We're seeing, like, the limited champ pool. I mean, for God's sakes, Golden Goose playing Diana. If that doesn't scream limited, I don't know what does. Like Diana's not good, and but he's still getting. He got a win on it because his team. It's team diff. Like, I like Golden Goose as a player, and he hasn't looked that bad. But like, man, if he could just pick it up a little bit, like this Diana pick ain't it, Chief. Like, come on. Uh, yeah. So, 100 Thieves, Dig, drafting problems. I mean, I think 100 Thieves has a lot more problems than just drafting.
Hmm.
Their early game is super sus. Like, they've only had like one good early game, and that was versus TL Schernfire, where stunt lands like a crazy hook from Fog, and Meteos wins a 50-50 smite fight. So I don't know if those are really things you rely on, right?
Yeah.
um, yeah, sucks. I mean, honestly, it from where we thought the split would be. So next week is the halfway point of the split. How much of your power rankings is wrecked by this season?
I guess we could like redo them for next week's episode, sort of
Yeah,
thing. Um,
yeah, we can look back on it then.
yeah, but for right now, for what it looks like, some teams are definitely worse than others than we expected. For example, full fucking CLG,
Yeah,
along with
rest in peace.
EG. But some teams are actually better than we expected, like FlyQuest, and Dignitas to a certain extent, and Golden Guardians. So, when we meet the halfway point, which is next week, that is definitely going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I actually think mine might look better than yours because of where I had IMT.
Maybe,
um,
but bro,
yeah.
FlyQuest at 10th, man. At least
Oh
I had
my
them at
god,
ninth. You know.
dude, fuck me, Jesus, you remembered. Oh my heart. So moving actually talking about FlyQuest. So FlyQuest played TSM and 100 Thieves. We kind of touched on both the games, but where do you think FlyQuest looked? Because the one game they basically just waited and outscaled, and it's hard to say because when you're on the team that outscales, you're like, when you're on the winning side of a team, like of a disparity in like when a team is supposed to win, you're like, yeah, we did it right. We stuck it out. We played it slow, and we turtled, and we were able to win. No pun intended on turtle. But when you're
Hmm.
on the opposite side and you're the team who's supposed to like smash, you're just like, bro, this is bullshit. We should have ended like 5 minutes ago. We just made one mistake, blah blah blah. Because it feels really bad as the team who has an early game comp to lose off of one mistake. Like you do everything right, and you make one mistake, and then another team wins, and you feel like they don't deserve it, right?
To a certain extent, yeah.
So I think FlyQuest had both sides of the coin this weekend. They played the team who's supposed to lose early game, and they scaled and got to late. And then they played the team who's supposed to win early game, and they shit on the enemy. Like, fucking Power Evil Syndrome looks nutty, honestly. He was known for this champion back in the day, like Season 4, and he just looks insane.
Okay, so when it comes to FlyQuest, their 3 losses come from TL, C9, and fucking EG.
Oh my
So
god.
the fact that they lost to EG makes me a little hesitant in terms of putting them in like a top 4 position, because like, how the fuck do you lose to EG sort of thing? I guess EG's good, but they're just not, playing well or whatever the fuck it may be. But, FlyQuest, they lost to TL when like they drafted Senna with Rakan. I think that was like their main thing for FlyQuest. Like, you don't fucking draft that together ever. And
I think they were trying to take away the Rakan from Team Liquid because they had Zaya.
No. I'm looking at the game right now, actually. So
Oh.
TL had Aphelios.
Oh,
and
my bad.
I guess FlyQuest were just like, we need initiation other than our Lee Sin running it down. So they're like, fuck it, we'll just pick the Rakan here. And that obviously didn't go well. But the fact that they lost to EG, which like EG counter picked the Zoe with like Malzahar, and like that, it was that game. So like that game was definitely very interesting. But I think FlyQuest, they're like a strong team when they get the right drafts and when they're able to execute on said drafts. Like when they like clearly know what their team comp is strong at and what the enemy team comp is strong at. Like they know what to do, sort of thing.
Now that you bring up the fact that EG played Malzahar, I think FlyQuest and like how well Power Evil played this week, I think FlyQuest actually really relies on Power Evil like getting ahead or at least going even, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he gets counterpicked with Mouse, he looked bad in that game too. Because I mean, it's mostly because he kept getting Mouse ulted and dying, right? It's like you can't walk up. I think when FlyQuest isn't able to use Power Evil to their advantage, they kind of fall apart. He seems like their rock right now, along with Santorin. They've both been playing really well. And so is Ignar. I think who's looked really weak this season is Viper. He's kind of had like a weak champion pool.
Yeah, he's on Ornn duty, unfortunately.
He's on Ornn duty right now. And that's not that bad to be on. Ornn is strong right now, so it's not such a bad thing, right?
I mean, the best thing about FlyQuest is that they get a free ban because every single team has to ban Riven because they don't know when they're going to pull it out. So every single team, just like first rotation, they're like, all right, just get rid of the Riven. Like, just fuck it.
Riven is literally only banned in FlyQuest games.
Yeah, because I think the one team that let it through, I forget who. But
it was IMT in week 1 where they got
yeah, and they definitely got pooped on.
Yeah.
Because Soaz was like, what the fuck is Riven?
Yeah.
What is this
like,
champion?
He's getting shit on. Like, it was versus the Chucks.
Mm-hmm.
And, tough matchup.
True.
Let's see. Who haven't we touched on?
I think we pretty much talked about everyone.
Did we?
Yeah. I mean, C9, I guess.
Oh, yeah, C9.
They're just smurfing. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Ooh, Blabber's first play in the TSM game was pretty
Oh, yeah. All right. So, that TSM game, I was like, look, man, they got 2 kills. Let's fucking go. And then it was one early skirmish where, like, C9 players were, like, below half. And, like, they weren't able to close out those kills. And I was like, ah, shit. And now it's looking grim. So, because of the way both of these teams play is very like early aggression, like they emphasize that a lot. And also TSM picked fucking Akali, which was kind of troll, in my opinion.
It's legit, dude. That champion is so bad. I don't see the upside to picking it in this situation.
I mean, yeah, you're right, because like even if they swapped it around to like Renekton top, Akali mid, like I don't know where this Akali like gets backline access, especially since so what happened was right after they drafted the Akali MF, they just drafted Tom Kench and Varus. So now it's like, now you have to get through a Tom Kench as well, which like Bjergsen's Akali, I believe, has played into a Tom Kench before against C9 during like the playoffs or something, which like that happened to work out for them or whatever. But like this is a different season, different patch, all this other stuff. So I'm not exactly sure why they first picked Akali. I guess BB was like, all right, just get me Akali and we win GG or some like confidence nonsense because Roxa said the same shit. Like, yo, get me Lee Sin, I'll get you a dub. And then that didn't happen. So,
yeah, I guess the Akali is a flex pick, right? And, uh, I think probably Bjergsen might have looked better on it. But the problem with their draft is, like, where is the win condition, really? Like, you have
yeah,
Akali,
like, where's like
MF,
the,
Nautilus,
mm-hmm,
Renekton, Gragas. Like, where is the win condition here?
like, they have like pretty good initiation, but like, who's going to like do damage in the fights? Like, consistent damage other than the MF sort of thing. Because
Yeah,
like Bjergsen's gonna go in, like tank as much as he can, do as much damage as he can, and then die. And then BB's gonna like try to go into the fights in and out and still try to do as much damage as he can while trying to not die.
well, he's
Sort of thing.
basically trying to kill, like, the Varus, who has a Tom Catch to protect him. And,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Renekton hasn't looked good since Shojin got removed. So I don't know why this week we saw so much Renekton, but I hope we don't see him at all next week. He looks really bad. Like, he
Yeah.
won. He
It's kind of hard to
won
play that
two
champion
game.
now.
He won 2 games, but oh no, he won. Actually, did he win any games?
I'm
He won.
not
He won the
sure.
EG versus IMT game, but that's like that doesn't. It wasn't because of the Renekton. Even though Kumo did look good on it, it wasn't because of it.
It's because of bot diff.
Yeah, bot diff, bot diff. So yeah, I'm just like, is I don't want to see it. Like, it's not good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they try and force these fights like at 10 minutes, and like they just get mechanically outplayed by Cloud9. And like you look at the early game and you're like, yo, 2 kills on Renekton, yo, it's looking clean. Like, they can get this win. Like, oh, TSM versus Cloud9, woo, and then Cloud9 just kind of shit on them.
Yeah.
Like, that was the big thing where it's like, oh yeah, Blabber ran it down for 2 seconds, and then they got shit on.
Yeah.
Right.
It was looking good until it wasn't. That was the unfortunate part.
Yeah. So, really sucks for TSM. 0-2 week. I mean, let's look at a couple of the matchups for next week, and then we can close it out there, right?
Yeah. So predictions for LCS games. So first game, 100 Thieves, TSM.
TSM.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, 100 Thieves have been like, they've been like even. Like, they haven't improved, but they haven't like, I mean, you can say that they declined, but like, in my opinion, they sort of like stayed the same since week 1. Because like their first win, like they shouldn't have won against Golden Guardians, but they did. And they've kind of just been like trailing that sort of like path ever since, sort of thing. But TSM have been on the up and up. And I think after another 0-2 week, they're going to like, all right, we got to like fix some shit.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, they already need to fix shit, right? Because the halfway point of the split is coming. So it's kind of looking grim for some teams, kind of looking up for other teams, right? Especially for teams like TL. Basically, is like, yo, one more win, we'll go 4-5 in the first half, and then after that, we can start playing, right? But teams like CLG is like, oh my god, we suck. It's over. Our season's done. That's basic. And 100 Thieves, if they really want to fight for playoffs, like right now they're sitting at the 7th place spot, and they're technically even with Team Liquid, who we expect to get back to the top. Like, it looks really rough for teams that want to make playoffs that are out right now. Like, you'd have to knock either Dig or Golden Guardians or Mortals or FlyQuest out. I don't think TSM
one team
like
has to
option.
troll, I would say.
Yeah, one team has. That's the thing. Like, Cloud9 is so far up that it looks like they're not gonna. It's impossible for them to not get a bye, right? But the teams like
C9's definitely gonna make playoffs, and they're probably gonna get a bye. But like, going 18-0, I think that's still like up in the air, I would say. But
yeah, it's really hard to go 18-0. But the teams like FlyQuest and Immortals, like, it's basically put up or shut up. Like, if you can't get these wins in the next couple. Basically, the teams that should be above them, like TSM and Team Liquid, it's time to prove if you're on the level. Because if you can't win those games, then you have potential to get knocked out of playoffs by like teams like 100 Thieves and EG, right? So risky shit right now in the middle of the split.
Mm-hmm.
Moving
Next
on
game.
to CLG Cloud9. Yikes. It's actually really tragic. This is CLG's last game, right?
Yeah.
The first half. I don't think there's any chance they can win this, bar like
Hey man, you
miracle.
never know. It's Counter Logic Gaming, you know how it is on
Counter
Reddit. It's like, you know what? It's Counter Logic. I guess they won this game or whatever, but
Oh my god.
the chances of them winning this game are looking really slim. So I'm just gonna go with C9 because C9's, like I said, they're actually just smurfing compared to the rest of the league. And CLG, like they're just all over the place. They have no team cohesion. They're making a lot of individual mistakes in lane, out of lane. It just doesn't look good for them.
Yeah.
But the game after that, Dig versus Immortals, I think that one's pretty important.
And this
Because
is the last in the round robin, right?
yeah, I believe so.
So you were gonna say it's important?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, it's a important match because I think if Dig win it, they tie with IMT. But if IMT win it, they're gonna be one win above them, sort of thing.
Oh
So,
yeah, like that kind of thing, right?
yeah, so like it just closes the gap closer for Dig. But if they don't win it, like IMT is just gonna be further from them, sort of thing. So, but
Yeah.
if I had to put my bets on it, if IMT's playing on a good day, they can take it. But I still don't know where IMT stands because they've stolen a lot of wins. So I'm just going to put my faith in Dig. As long as draft diff doesn't happen, Dig can win.
Dude, draft diff.
Don't
Johnson,
first pick Elise. Please,
don't
God.
First pick Elise,
Don't.
Please, yeah.
My eyes.
My eyes. It was such a bad game, too. Like,
Yeah,
really
like
bad.
the Elise did nothing, like at all. Like, please.
Yeah. They could have won it. They had, like, a tank, honestly. So, it sucks. Aside from that, let's see. The next game is Golden Guardians vs Fly. This is an interesting.
I think this one's a close matchup, yeah.
It's a close matchup because Golden Guardians has been on the up and up recently. Right now they are on a 3-game winning streak. So they started 1-3, and now they started 1-4, and now they're 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then if Golden Guardians win this, they tie with FlyQuest.
yes, so that's really good for them. I am actually pretty proud. Like the thing is, most people had Golden Guardians in last, but nobody thought fucking CLG would implode as hard as they did, right? So,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of crazy. But honestly, I like the fact that Golden Guardians is picking it up. I like the team I like the way Keith is shaping out. Like, I think a lot of people are realizing, like, you really need to put him on some kind of playmaking champion or else he's running it. Because he didn't look good on Tom Kench or Braum.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe playmaking. Like, he looked good on Nautilus and Thresh, so I think that's where they're going to kind of shift. I think they're finding their identity. Golden Glue needs to expand that champion pool, bro. You can't be picking Diana, bro. I'm actually going to sit on Golden Guardians with this one. I think Haunter is able to match Viper. I think Haunter's more experienced, might be a little bit better mechanically. The bot lane is pretty iffy to me. Ignore versus Wild Turtle and Keith and FBI. It looks close, but if Golden Guardians gets a solid draft, I think they'll be able to win this. It's tough because like there's not that big of a jungle difference between Santorin and Closer, like there was in like in the 100 Thieves game. So it's interesting, right?
Yeah, because I definitely think that these teams are like pretty close, but I think if FlyQuest can like sweep a win here and like show that like they are in a league above Golden Guardians in a way, I think that would definitely like show them that they are like playoff contenders and this and that. But I do think Golden Guardians are on the up and up. So this is definitely a very, very close matchup, and I think that this is definitely the most exciting one to watch for Saturday. So I'm gonna say FlyQuest because I think the players on that roster are just more experienced and they have like more
overall. You mean, right?
Yeah, like overall like experience sort of thing. Because you know Golden Guardians they have a couple rookies and this and that. So
yeah, makes sense. And then the last game for the first round robin, TL versus EG. This is the last game of the first round robin. So after this game, every team will have played 9 games and played everyone else. Honestly, TL looked better on their second day. Obviously, it was versus CLG, but also Broxah looked better on a more supportive champion than he did on Lee Sin, at least. I'm sticking to the faith. I think TL will win. I think they'll go 4-5 in the first half, right? But after this game, I think they'll really pick it up, and it really shows with the next game they play. But where are you on TL versus EG?
I think EG's the CLG of this split, where like they'll win games where like people don't expect them to win, sort of thing. So I definitely think TL is still the stronger team overall. Now with Broxah, because I think that they definitely looked a lot better in the CLG game than they did in like previous games prior. So I think TL is probably gonna take it just because EG, like some games Svenskeren is just straight up just running it down. I have no idea what the hell he's doing, but you know what? Props to him. He's like going for these engages. He's trying his best. You know,
Kind of insane, honestly.
respect. He's still trying to win. So, but I'm just gonna have to give it to TL.
Yeah. And
Next game
now,
is IMT
the second half of the split.
or
First games
IMT
of the second
C9.
half, right? So, IMT C9.
Obviously, C9 won the first
Yeah.
time because
Yeah, duh. I mean,
the guy they made out right now.
yeah. I mean, I think C9. It's pretty hard not to call C9, especially if IMT lose to Dig, um, like they do. Like if they lose to Dig on the first day, definitely doesn't look good for them versus Cloud9. Uh, and this is where like it gets kind of iffy, right? Because you have to think like, is Cloud9, do they have a challenge? Like when is does their challenge start for like the second half, right? And
Yeah, I think when C9 face against soft TSM again, that'll definitely be a challenge. Because like this is what happens when you have like a best of one sort of like split. Like you don't exactly know where team strengths are, and I think that's very clear within the LCS. Because like IMT just sweeping these wins out of nowhere, and you know like CLG is probably a better team than they show in their record. If they were to be in like a best of three format, probably not. Maybe I'm not sure. Um, but you know like C9 versus IMT, like I have no idea if they're going to be able to clutch it out against C9 just because C9, like I said earlier,
looks so dominant.
yeah, they are just so good in terms of like getting early A leads, whether it's, you know, small ones or like, you know, just taking a little thing into a bigger advantage. I think that they're super good at that, especially within the early to mid game stages. So I'm just going to have to give it to C9 again. Like it's like a no-brainer kind of.
Yeah. And the next one is interesting. It's Golden Guardians versus 100 Thieves. If you remember in the first week, this was the matchup. And Golden Guardians had a massive lead. And
Then they ended it away.
They throw it at the Elder Drake. And I think from the way the two teams have gone since the first week, I have to give like Golden Guardians is above them in record. I think Golden Guardians is going to win the rematch. I think they're not going to make the same mistakes they did in the first week where they're not able to close the game out, right? And so I'm hoping that Golden Guardians can show that they've improved since the first week. I think this is not the best test, but it'll at least draw a line between them and some of the teams in the league versus like who's at the bottom and who's in the middle.
Yeah. Like at this point where we are in the split right now, Golden Guardians are on the up and up, and 100 Thieves are kind of stagnant, and they haven't really improved or improved enough where it's like noticeable sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm also gonna have to give it to Golden Guardians because like they've just been playing well, but you know, as a 100 Thieves fan, it sucks to see them, you know, like not be as well as they probably should be on paper. But they just need to clean it up, or you know, if the summer split comes around, replace some players. Who knows? So because you know, spring split is not their thing right now. I would say.
I think. I mean, spring split isn't for a lot of these teams what it looks like, right? I mean, the playoffs are yet to come around, and the rest of the season is yet to come around. But from what we see now, Cloud9 looks like the team going to MSI, but we'll find out. The next game we'll talk about is FlyQuest versus CLG. Thoughts on this one? Is it a wash? Does CLG turn it around?
I think it could be a close one. But at the same time, if FlyQuest are able to show against Golden Guardians that like they're really good, I think FlyQuest are just gonna like demolish CLG if that is the case, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give it to Fly again.
Yeah. Same here. I think Power Revo looks really, really good this split. And Crown looks really bad. So that's the kind of contrast between the two. Kind of like it's a weird story, right? Crown looking so bad this year.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like how his career has been. He's looked bad one year, good the next year. Like that's his whole career, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, fortunately, it doesn't look like CLG is going to turn around anytime soon until we see some upsets from them. I can't really rate them above any other team. And then so the next game is TSM versus EG. This one is interesting.
Yeah. The TSM versus EG game is definitely going to be a coin flip, I would say. I am, definitely looking at TSM because I think after another O2 week, they are going to be able to turn it around and see where their mistakes were, whether it be in draft or execution or whatever. And from EG side, like EG has been very like stagnant, I would say. Like they've been able to, scoop up some wins here and there, but like they haven't like showed anything like super impressive. So I'm gonna have to give it to TSM here, just because EG hasn't really impressed me ever since week 1, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean EG only has wins versus 100 Thieves, IMT, and FlyQuest. The FlyQuest is kind of impressive, and I guess you would say like it's weird because those teams are so much like 2 games higher than them in the standings,
Mm-hmm.
both IMT and Fly. So maybe EG is better than what they look, but I don't think they're better than TSM, right? Like I don't really remember the TSM EG game. Do you?
I do, because I think it was like TSM week 2 where like they came back and we're like, all right, guys, we need to work on our mid game, because like that was pretty much everything everyone was talking about. So they came in, they had like Zyra Khan, they also had Set and like some other like team fighting
Oh, it was the
champions.
Wombo combo one, right?
Yeah, so like they pretty much like just team fought better than EG. Also, EG
Uh,
entered the fucking draft where they picked Kindred when they had Gragas and Set. So I was like, all right,
oh,
2 champions that could displace you out of your ulti. Cool. Like
yeah,
that
sorry.
is definitely a in the draft. Like why did you do that? Like, but hopefully EG, they don't int it as hard. And I think TSM has been definitely on the up and up. And like I
Even
said,
after
after
this O2 week, right? Like
yeah, like even after this O2 week, like they're probably gonna look at those games and be like, all right, where the fuck did we mess up? Because
a little bit more late
after
game. A little bit more late
yeah,
game. It's like let's
after
put a sprinkle.
after their first O2 week, they came back and they were on a pretty good hot streak, and then they lost to C9 and then FlyQuest. So
Yikes to the FlyQuest one. Gotta say, it's really sad they lost that game.
and then last
And
game for Monday
yep,
Night League, TL
the
versus Dig.
rematch, TL versus Dig. This one is
Yeah,
interesting,
this
right?
is the one where Dig snuck that win because
Yeah, it was the fucking Aphelios.
yeah,
That was the
the
Aphelios game.
Aphelios
Sheesh.
combo on top of the J4, because Ryze didn't have flash, so
Yeah.
Ryze got popped instantly, and then
Mm-hmm.
Doublelift was on Senna, but Senna's not meta anymore, so that
Yep.
won't happen this time around.
TL I think is on blue side too, so I hope the
Yeah,
first
so
pick
they are
fucking.
on blue side, so they can't first pick the Aphelios if it's not banned. So I'm gonna have to go just by looking at like how teams are like shaping up. Like TL is below Dig on the standings, but I think TL is at this point going to improve enough that they're going to be able to either match Dig, like it's going to be like a close game, or they're just going to win it.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat here. I'm pretty sure TL is only like this week with Broxa is just like little practice. He's jet lagged. Next week is where they're really gonna start coming into their own, and hopefully by the time they play TSM and Cloud9, they're like, well, actually, shit, they TL play TSM in week 6, so I hope they're good enough by then, right? So, and Cloud9's their last game of the season, for the regular, so that'll be hype to see. But yeah, I'm hoping TL bounce back in this next week, and we can finally start seeing like the rankings shape up how we thought they would look, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you want to close this out?
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening to the Open Mid Leaguecast once again, and we will see you guys next week with week 5 of the LCS and Academy games.
Thank you.